He promised a quiet weekend with no signal, so I showed up unannounced. But when I saw his name on the screen beside hers, my heart stopped. 3 days earlier, everything had seemed normal, or at least, normal for us. Ethan had kissed me goodbye that morning, coffee in one hand, and his travel bag in the other. 3 days, he said, flashing that easy smile of his. Company retreat. No phones, no distractions. Just team building. He'd even joked about how terrible the food would be, and how much he'd miss my cooking. And just like that, he was gone. At first, I didn't question it. He'd been under pressure at work, new management, long hours, late night calls. The idea of a team retreat sounded believable. But then, small things started to feel off. His coworker, Melissa, accidentally liked one of my old Facebook photos, the one from our anniversary dinner, and unliked it seconds later. When I sent Ethan a quick message asking how things were going, it didn't deliver. Hours passed. Then a text arrived. All good. Super busy. Love you. Short, flat, cold, not him. That night, I couldn't sleep. I stared at our wedding photo on the dresser, him in his navy suit, smiling like he'd never keep a secret from me. I told myself I was overreacting, but my gut wouldn't let it go so. I did something I'd never done before. I checked his company's event calendar. No mention of a retreat. Not even a single meeting out of town. That was the moment I knew something was wrong. The next morning, I called his assistant. She hesitated too long before saying, yeah, the retreat. I think it's in Denver. Her tone was shaky. She didn't sound sure. Denver. That was enough for me. I booked a one-way ticket, packed a small bag, and decided I was going to find out what my husband was really doing. When I walked into the hotel lobby and saw the check-in board behind the desk, I thought my heart would stop, because under guest list corporate reservations, his name was right there. Ethan Carter, room 417, checked in with one additional guest. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments about which country you're watching this video from. Enjoy the story. My throat felt dry as I stared at the name glowing on the screen behind the counter. Ethan Carter, room 417, to guests. The clerk must have noticed my face because she hesitated before asking, "Ma'am, are you all right?" I forced a smile that probably looked more like a grimace. "Yes. Just tired. Can I ask when Mr. Carter checked in?" She looked down at her monitor. Friday evening. Around 7:45 p.m. Friday. That was the night he'd texted me going to bed early. My chest tightened. Right, of course. Then she added something that sent chills racing up my arms. He and his colleagues seemed really excited about the weekend package. We upgraded them to the Riverview suite. Colleague. The word hung in the air like poison. I kept my voice steady. Did he mention her name? The clerk frowned. Her. Sorry, I meant the other guest. His coworker. She turned the screen slightly toward herself, reading carefully. It says, Melissa Rowan. Does that sound right? Melissa? The same coworker who'd accidentally liked my photo. I thanked the clerk and stepped away. Before my knees could give out, my fingers were trembling as I dug for my phone. I opened Ethan's messages. All those love yous and can't wait to be home. Suddenly felt like a cruel joke. I wanted to storm upstairs, pound on room 417, and end it right there. But something in me, maybe instinct, maybe pride, said no. Not yet. I needed to see it. I needed proof. I took a seat in the corner of the lobby, half hidden behind a decorative plant, and pretended to scroll through my phone. My heart was hammering so loud I could hear it in my ears. Every time the elevator chimed, I looked up. A family walked by. A group of businessmen. Then, finally, I saw him. Ethan stepped out of the elevator, laughing, his shirt untucked, his hair slightly messy, and walking right beside him, Melissa. They didn't notice me at first. She brushed his arm playfully. He leaned closer, saying something that made her giggle. It was casual, too casual. Like they'd done this 1,000 times before. They walked straight to the front desk. Ethan handed the clerk his card. We're heading out for the evening. Can you have a bottle of champagne sent up later? Champagne? I felt the floor tilt beneath me. He turned, and for a split second, our eyes met. His smile froze. So did mine. Jess, he said, voice barely above a whisper. What are you doing here? The whole lobby went silent. Even the elevator bell sounded far away. I opened my mouth, but before I could speak, Melissa stepped closer, confusion and guilt flickering across her face. Ethan, who is this? He hesitated just long enough to confirm everything I already knew. This is my wife, I said quietly. Her face drained of color. His did too, and right then, something inside me shifted. The fear, the shaking, it disappeared. All that was left was a cold, clear calm. I think, I said softly, we should all have a little talk. Don't you? Ethan didn't answer, but the look in his eyes told me that whatever story he'd built, it was about to come crashing down. Ethan's mouth opened, but no words came out. The hotel lobby suddenly felt smaller, quieter, like every eye in the room was on us. Jess, he finally said, voice trembling. This isn't what it looks like. I almost laughed. The oldest line in the book. Really? I said, because it looks exactly like what it is. Melissa stepped back, clutching her purse like it might protect her. I didn't know he was married. Her voice cracked, but I didn't believe her, not for a second. The clerk behind the desk looked like she wanted to vanish. Ethan shot her a glare. You shouldn't have told her my room number. I didn't, she stammered. She saw the screen. He turned back to me, jaw tight. We can't do this here. Let's go upstairs. Perfect. That was exactly what I wanted. I followed him toward the elevator, ignoring the curious glances from people nearby. My heartbeat pounded in my ears, but my voice was calm when I said, after you. The ride to the 4th floor was silent. The air felt thick, the kind of silence that hums before a storm. When the elevator doors opened, he led me down a carpeted hallway. Each step echoed, heavy and deliberate. Room 417. He slid his keycard through the slot. The green light flashing. The door opened. The room smelled of expensive perfume, not mine. On the table sat an empty bottle of wine, 2 glasses, and a room service tray. The bed was unmade, sheets tangled. My stomach churned. Jess, please, Ethan said, shutting the door. You're overreacting. We're just working on a campaign pitch. She's part of my team. I stared at him. You drink wine in bed with your coworkers now. He ran a hand through his hair, pacing. We were brainstorming. It got late. There weren't enough rooms. Enough rooms. I repeated. This is a 5-star hotel, Ethan. He didn't answer. His eyes darted to the door, like he was already planning an escape. Then, something caught my attention. A folder on the desk. I picked it up. Inside were printed travel receipts, dinner reservations, and a second key card. Every single one was dated before this retreat. How long has this been going on? I asked quietly. He froze. Jess, I dropped the folder on the bed. You know what's funny? You always said you hated hotels. Said they felt fake. Guess you changed your mind? He stepped toward me, hands out. Let's just talk about this, okay? Please don't make a scene. But it was too late for calm. Too late for pretending. Because, as he spoke, something started buzzing from his nightstand, a phone I didn't recognize. I picked it up. The lock screen showed a photo of him and Melissa at a lake, smiling, arms wrapped around each other. The time's 3 months ago. My chest tightened, but I didn't cry. Not this time. I'm going to give you one chance, I said, voice low but steady. Tell me the truth. He looked at me, and for the first time, I saw fear in his eyes. But before he could say anything, there was a knock at the door. Ethan went pale. He didn't move. Neither did I. The knocking came again, louder this time. Who is that? I asked. He swallowed hard. You don't want to know. The knock came again, sharp and deliberate. 3 times. Then silence. Ethan's whole body tensed. His hand hovered near the door handle, but he didn't move. Ethan, I said, my voice a low whisper, who is it? He didn't answer. His jaw flexed, eyes darting toward the peephole. like he was debating whether to open it or run. The knock came again, louder this time. "Open the door." A woman's voice called out, calm, controlled. The kind of tone used by someone who expects to be obeyed. It wasn't Melissa. My pulse quickened. I glanced around the room, the empty glasses, the phone still buzzing faintly on the nightstand, the half-zipped suitcase near the bed. "Ethan," I pressed. "Who is that?" He turned toward me, pale and cornered. "You need to go now." "Excuse me." "Jess, please," he hissed, lowering his voice. "You don't understand. This isn't about her anymore." The woman knocked again, harder. "Ethan, we need to talk now." I stepped closer, glaring at him. "If you don't open that door, I will." Before he could stop me, I yanked the handle. The door swung open, and a tall woman in a black trench coat stood there. Her expression unreadable. She looked maybe mid-30s, sharp eyes, hair pulled back. In her hand was a small leather folder, the kind you'd see at a bank or law office. "Mrs. Carter," she said smoothly, turning her gaze to me. "Good evening." She knew my name. Ethan groaned softly, rubbing his temples. "Lisa, please," she cut him off. "Save it. You've already said enough lies for one weekend." I blinked. "Who are you?" Lisa stepped into the room, shutting the door behind her. "Private investigator, hired by a client to track Mr. Carter's financial activities." Ethan's face drained of color. "Financial activities," I repeated slowly. She nodded, flipping open her folder. "He's been embezzling funds from his company for over 6 months. Offshore transfers. Fake vendor accounts." The retreat, she gestured toward the messy room, was just a cover for a transaction. My brain froze. "Wait, you're saying he's stealing?" Ethan snapped. "This is ridiculous. She doesn't know what she's talking about." But Lisa didn't even look at him. "Actually, your name's all over the wire transfers, and your hotel room is currently under quiet surveillance by corporate security." I staggered back, gripping the edge of the table. The folder she handed me was thick pages of printouts, bank statements, even photos of Ethan meeting a man outside a downtown cafe. Ethan lunged for it, but I stepped aside. "Don't you dare." He stopped mid-step, realizing the truth was out. Lisa sighed. "They'll be here soon," she said, glancing at her watch. "You might want to step outside, Mrs. Carter." This could get loud, but I didn't move. My whole world, the marriage I thought I had, the man I thought I knew, was unraveling right in front of me. I looked at him, really looked. The charm, the lies, the practiced calm, all gone. "You weren't just cheating," I said softly. "You were building a whole second life." He didn't deny it. Then, as if on cue, there was a shout from down the hall. "Security! Mr. Carter." Ethan turned to me, panic flashing in his eyes. "Jess, please," he said, stepping closer. "If you love me, don't let them take me." And that's when I realized love wasn't what had brought me here anymore. It was truth. Before he could say another word, the door burst open. 2 men in suits stepped inside. "Ethan Carter?" one asked. Ethan's hands went up slowly. Lisa closed her folder. "Took you long enough," she muttered. As they moved toward him, Ethan looked at me one last time. His voice broke. "Jess, I'm sorry." I didn't answer, because for the first time in years, I finally felt free, and yet, I knew this story wasn't over, not even close. The hotel room felt like a storm had just passed through, papers scattered, voices fading, the echo of Ethan's pleas still clinging to the air. Security let him out in handcuffs, head lowered, eyes hollow. I just stood there, numb, watching the man I once thought I'd grow old with disappear down the hallway. Lisa lingered behind, speaking quietly into her earpiece. When she finally looked back at me, her tone softened. "You okay?" I wanted to say no, but all I managed was a whisper. I don't even know what okay means anymore. She gave a small nod, understanding. "You should know. You weren't the only reason he was hiding." That pulled me out of my fog. "What do you mean?" Lisa opened her folder again, sliding out a sealed envelope. We found something else. He made one last transfer this morning, not to the offshore account. To someone local. Names sounded familiar. She flipped the document toward me. My breath caught. Recipient: Jessica Carter. My name. I stared at the page, confused. That's my account number, but I didn't receive anything. Lisa's expression darkened. It was scheduled. He didn't finish the transaction. He must have been interrupted. Scheduled for when? Tomorrow morning. A chill rippled through me. Ethan had planned to send stolen money to my account right before his supposed return home. He was setting you up. Lisa said quietly. If they hadn't caught him tonight, you would have been the one they traced next. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. Every lie, every manipulation, every business trip suddenly made sense. I'd been more than a wife to him. I'd been a shield, the perfect cover. I sank into the nearest chair. He would have let me take the fall. Lisa closed the folder and tucked it under her arm. He almost did, she paused. But you stopped him in time. I thought back to the moment I'd walked into that lobby, driven by suspicion and hurt. If I hadn't trusted my instincts, I might have ended up in prison for a crime I didn't even understand. When Lisa left, I sat alone in the quiet. The city lights of Denver flickering through the window. Below, I could see the police car pulling away, red and blue lights cutting across the glass. Part of me wanted to cry. The other part, the stronger part, didn't. Because what I felt wasn't just grief. It was clarity that Ethan had spent months weaving a web of deceit. But in the end, his arrogance destroyed him. He underestimated the woman he thought he could fool. I picked up his forgotten phone from the nightstand, the same one that had betrayed him earlier. There was one unread message at the top of the screen. Unknown number, did you make the drop? She's still in the dark, right? I exhaled slowly. Guess not. I slipped the phone into a bag marked evidence and handed it to the hotel security guard on his way out as I stepped into the hallway. I caught my reflection in the mirror, tired, shaken, but unbroken. For years, I'd been the wife waiting at home, believing half-truths and empty promises, but not anymore. The next morning, I boarded the first flight back to Portland. The clouds outside the window stretched endlessly, soft and silver against the sunrise. Somewhere down below, Ethan's world was collapsing. Mine was just beginning again, and as the plane climbed higher into the light, one thought kept circling in my mind. Sometimes, the truth doesn't just set you free, it saves your life.